Chapter 10, Books and the Power of Print.
Scrolling down.
Amazon and the publishing industry. In 2014, Amazon entered into a dispute with publishing company Hachette over control of ebook pricing. Hachette won the battle and retained control over pricing, but Amazon still has plans to remake the book publishing industry, which includes Kindle Unlimited, a new service offering 600,000 book and audio titles for reading and listening. The history of books from papyrus to paperback. In the ancient world, there was papyrus, used in Egypt as early as 2400 BC. Parchment, which is treated animal skin, replaced papyrus in Europe. And then codex was the first proto-modern book made of bound materials by the Romans in the 4th century. The development of manuscript culture. Books were painstakingly lettered, decorated, and bound by hand. This was the entrepreneurial stage of the evolution of books. Illuminated manuscripts used decorative, colorful designs and illustrations, and they were made for churches or wealthy clients. They were absolutely beautiful. They're really beautiful works of art, and you can find them in museums. I encourage you to look them up or find books on them because they're really beautiful and colorful works of art. Block printing and movable type. Block printing was developed by Chinese printers and enabled multiple copies to be printed and bound together. Movable type was invented in China around 1000, and this made creating block pages faster. And then it was developed independently in Europe in the 1400s. And once it was developed in Europe, it really took off and led to the mass printing of published documents. The Gutenberg Revolution. The printing press in Europe was invented by Johannes Gutenberg. This had inestimable influence on Western culture. This helped make books cheaper, permitted information and knowledge to spread outside local jurisdictions, and permitted individuals to challenge traditional wisdom and customs. This really was a revolutionary information sharing tool at the time. The birth of publishing in the United States. Stephen Day published the first colonial book, the Whole Book of Psalms, in 1640. Benjamin Franklin imported and reprinted novels. The first paperback books were in the 1830s. The first dime novels were in the 1860s, and those allowed many people to buy them and information to be spread faster. Sometimes these were identified as pulp fiction, not related to the movie Pulp Fiction, of course. In the 1880s, we saw the first linotype machines and the introduction of steam-powered and high-speed rotary presses. The early 1900s saw the development of offset lithography, which greatly reduced the cost of color and illustrations and accelerated book production. Early prestigious publishing houses tried to identify and produce the works of good writers. The oldest houses survive now as part of larger conglomerates. Demand for books grew between 1880 and 1920 with the rise of industrialized urban culture. Book industry helped assimilate European immigrants into American culture and language. Despite a decline from 1910 through the 1950s, the book industry bounced back after World War II. Types of books. There are trade books, which include adult trade, juvenile trade, comics, and graphic novels. There are professional books, including law, business, medical, and technical specific books. Textbooks, elementary through high school. Texts, college texts, vocational texts, mass market paperbacks, and religious titles are all other types of books. More types of books. Reference books, which include dictionaries, encyclopedias, atlases, almanacs, and professional or trade-specific books, and university press books, which are scholarly works for small groups. Figure 10.1 is the estimated U.S. book revenue for 2013. You'll see that trade books are by far the largest category, taking over half the total market of $27.136 billion. Influences of television and film. Two major facets included TV helping to sell books, promotion by talk show hosts such as Oprah Winfrey. Oprah was probably the single biggest influencer on the publishing industry for a long time during her monthly book club selections. I worked at a Barnes and Noble bookstore for a couple of years, and we always had a prominent display table of Oprah book club selections at the entrance of the store because people would come in looking for them always. How books serve as ideas for TV shows and movies. Boardwalk Empire on HBO and Dexter on Showtime. Those started as books. Life of Pi by Yang Martel and J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. Of course, the Harry Potter series has become an incredibly successful movie series as well. Audiobooks, also known as talking books or books on tape. They generally feature actors or authors reading entire works or abridged versions of books. They're popular with sightless and vision impaired, as well as with commuters who can listen to them on their long commutes to work. Convergence. Books in the digital age. E-books. Project Gutenberg offers more than 40,000 public domain books for free. Print books move online. First, e-readers were too heavy, expensive, and or difficult to read. Amazon produced the first popular device, the Kindle, and e-book store, and this accounted for 38% of adult fiction sales in 2013. So books are not always in the printed form anymore. E-books are rising in popularity. My local library offers free e-books and regular downloads of featured e-books. So if this is of interest to you, you might look into your local library's selection. The future of e-books. Printing books on demand. Reviving books that would otherwise go out of print and avoiding the inconvenience of carrying unsold books. So this helps book sellers in that they don't need to carry a large inventory. Reimagining what a book can be. Hosting embedded video, hyperlinks, and dynamic content within books is a feature that makes a book come to life that you wouldn't have in a printed book. And tailoring books to specific readers. So an individual book could be produced in different ways in the ebook form. Preserving and digitizing books. 19th century books were printed on acid-based paper, which generally deteriorates. Libraries developed preservation techniques in the 1970s to avoid further decline of these books. Acid-free paper, developed in the early 1990s, is less likely to deteriorate. And libraries photocopied pages onto the paper and stored the originals. So this was a way of preserving old books and making sure that they weren't lost forever. Digital imaging. Universities partnered with companies like Google and Amazon to digitize texts and make them available online. Libraries came together to create nonprofit archives called the Digital Public Library of America. Censorship and banned books. Censorship was imposed by various rulers and groups to maintain authority. This often prevented people from learning about the rituals and moral standards of other cultures. The American Library Association compiles a list of the most challenged books every year. Some groups or individuals choose to challenge books. So a book challenge is a formal complaint for the removal of a book from a library. Common reasons for challenges include sexually explicit passages or nudity, offensive language or racism, occult themes, violence, homosexual themes, and promotion of a religious viewpoint. So this is a common request, but libraries don't always honor these requests and are not required to honor book challenges. Figure 10.3, Banned and Challenged Books. This is a breakdown of the reasons for challenges against American libraries from 2001 to 2010. And here's a list of top 20 banned classics. Now, these are not banned in all places or banned on a widespread scale. These are just, it's a list of banned classics that have been challenged through the years. But many of us, of course, have read most, if not all, of these books. Ownership patterns. Ownership A handful of major corporations dominate commercial publishing. Large companies can financially support smaller firms while allowing editorial ideas to remain independent. So there are many book conglomerates where there are smaller publishing companies within larger companies. Large trade book publishers and independents are both struggling in the digital upheaval and dominance of Amazon.com. Table 10.2, the world's 10 largest trade book publishers from 2014. Many of these are also textbook publishers, such as Pearson and McGraw-Hill, and we use many of those texts here in PACE courses. But Penguin Random House is a very popular, well-known trade book publisher, but all of these are big players in the, clearly Pearson is the number one in the trade book industry. The structure of book publishing. The editorial side of publishing includes acquisitions editors who find the best authors and determine which books should be published. The developmental editor handles feedback to the author and makes suggestions for improvement, so they work directly with the author. The copy editors attend to the issues with the writing or the length, and they edit for typos and grammar. Production. Production and design managers work on the look of the book, make decisions about type style, paper, cover design, and layout. Marketing concerns include number of copies to print, how to reach potential readers through the various marketing and advertising channels, and what the budget for promotion and advertising is. Figure 10.4, how a book's revenue is divided. A hardcover title that costs $26 in the bookstore, of that about half goes to the bookseller or bookstore and about half goes to the publisher side, but the publisher has many costs to cover, such as printing and shipping, the author royalty. So the author only gets $3.90 of that $26. And then the same title at $12.99 in ebook form, purchased online, the bookseller revenue is about $3.90, so it's a lot less. The author royalty is about $2.27, and the publisher revenue is about $6.82. Selling books, brick and mortar stores, clubs, and mail order. Brick and mortar stores include book superstores such as Barnes and Noble, which are becoming more rare these days. I still enjoy going to them. I worked at a Barnes and Noble, and luckily many of those are still around. Independent bookstores, the smaller bookstores that you find, mom and pop type bookstores that are found in towns. Big discount retailers such as Walmart, or the big stores, the club stores such as BJ's and Sam's Club. Specialty retailers such as Anthropologie. Book clubs originally helped the industry when local stores were rare, but now book clubs are rare, with online sales increasing. Selling books, brick and mortar stores, clubs, and mail order continued. Mail order, pioneered in the 1950s by magazine publishers such as Time Life Books, sold special sets of books, one book at a time, so you might get a book of the month kind of thing. Primarily used by trade, professional, and university press publishers today. Selling books online. Advantages to consumers include convenience, low prices, and access to less popular titles. Amazon.com, of course, is the big megastore for selling books online. Transformed the industry. Is a major player in print and ebooks. Established Amazon Publishing, and its biggest rivals are Apple's iBookstore and Google Play. But I would argue that so far those haven't threatened Amazon much. Figure 10.5, ebook sales growth in millions of dollars from 2008 to 2012. So you see by this chart that ebook sales have grown tremendously from 2008 to 2012 and continue to rise through 2016 if we were to see the other years here on this chart. Alternative voices. Public libraries still remain a very good source for all types of books and literature, including now ebooks, as I mentioned in an earlier slide. and it's a way of avoiding the big stores and online sales. I have a library in walking distance to where I live, and it's a great source for me for all my reading pleasure. NewPages.com is trying to bring together alternative and university presses, independent bookstores, and guides to literary and alternative magazines. E-publishing enables authors to sidestep traditional publishers, and this often these titles are self-published, so people can publish their own titles and sell them through their own channels. Books and the future of democracy. The democracy of reading. Books have played an important role in spreading democracy and connecting people to new ideas throughout the ages. Americans are reading more. People still are reading voraciously just as they always have, whether it be in digital form or print form, printed form. Readers are more likely to perform volunteer and charity work. Books and reading have survived the challenge of digital culture. Many people still enjoy a printed book. I know I do. I enjoy flipping the pages and relaxing in bed, reading a book. I enjoy nothing more than sitting with my children and reading books. There's really a lot of quality time in that, and I think it fosters something in children, a love of reading and learning, that's really invaluable. So this concludes the Chapter 10 lecture. Please read the chapter in its entirety. This and other chapters, the other chapters we've read till now, will be on the final exam. And we will discuss these and other topics on the discussion boards.